Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. Today we'll be focused on the lives of some of the Carolina's finest emergency services personnel. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Good morning and welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at Fire Station 1 in the city of Florence. We are September 10th, today's Tuesday. We're visiting with the Sheriff of Horry County, Phillip Thompson. Sheriff Thompson, thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
I know this was a drive up from Florence, from Horry County, so thanks for making that commitment.
Thanks. I was glad to do it.
How long have you been in Horry County?
My entire life.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How long have you been in law enforcement?
24 years.
24 years. And how long as sheriff?
A year and a half.
Okay. Is that in Horry County, is that an elected office or is that an appointed position?
It's an elected office.
Okay. When we think, obviously this week is focused on the events that have occurred over the last 12 months and the events that occurred a year ago and how the country has been impacted and how we've moved forward as a country. As a county of Horry, what impact has September 11th had on the sheriff's operations, and how have lives been changed?
Well, I think basically the major impact that you could talk about is it brought about some reality to us of some things that could happen. Never before did we even visualize something of this nature happening. And what it did, it brought us down to reality, or brought reality to us, so that we could understand that these events could happen. What can we do to try to prevent them from happening? And in the event that it does occur again, how are we going to handle that? So that's basically the impact that it's had so far.
It's really made all in the sheriff's office think, all of your officers think about going forward, what can they do to protect everyone within the courthouse, everyone within...
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a new courthouse now that we just opened this past May.
Is that right?
Yes, we have. And we went from a facility that was 33,000 square feet to a facility now that's 129,000 square feet.
129,000?
Yes, it is. We have 11 courtrooms. We have chambers for our judges, 11. We have our solicitor's office, our clerk of court's office, our sheriff's office in that building. There's a lot of business goes on in there every day. Folks coming in and out just for court, for different meetings, and attorneys with their clients and things, to meet with the solicitor's office and different business you have in your clerk's office. And we have really increased our security tremendously over there. Everyone that comes in our facility now, we have one entrance, whereas in the old courthouse we had 4. In our new facility we have one entrance, but everyone that comes through there goes through a security checkpoint very similar to the one at an airport. We have an x-ray machine where purses, briefcases, all packages being delivered to the courthouse goes through our x-ray machine. We have walk-through metal detectors. We have personnel there with the hand wands. And I know that's an inconvenience. It was initially till we got our system in place. Now it works real good. It's pretty quick. It's like I said, it's similar to going to an airport. Mm-hmm. And I know, it's like I started to say earlier, it's a certain inconvenience for folks that come in, but now that we've got it worked out, and I think the majority of the people understand just the seriousness and everything that's going on. We have security personnel on every floor of the courthouse. We have 3 floors. We have personnel at every entranceway, upstairs, out of the elevators and stairways and things. So we've really paying a lot of attention to our security there.
By covering all that, you've obviously covered so many of the responsibilities of the sheriff's office, but your main responsibility as sheriff, is there a main responsibility?
Well, our sheriff's office in Horry County, we have a police department and a sheriff's office. And our responsibility there in Horry County is, number one, the security of the courthouse, the court proceedings, our detention center. We have a large responsibility there. As a matter of fact, we're building on out there right now. And we assist all the other law enforcement agencies in our county with whatever resources and manpower that we have available. We assist them.
an amazing amount of commitment. And you said you've been in law enforcement for 24 years.
Yes, I have.
And a year and a half as sheriff.
Yes, sir.
And how many officers are there?
We have 47 in the sheriff's office downtown. We have 155 at the detention center.
So almost 200.
That's correct.
Golly. What additional responsibilities does your office have as a result of potential threats of terrorism?
Well, like I said earlier, we assist any agency that calls us for help with whatever resources and manpower we have available. Something we've done in Horry County is our public safety director, Mr. Paul Witt, has set up a program where we meet quarterly, all public safety offices, sheriff's office, police department, fire department, EMS, 911, detention center. And what we do is we go over our duties and basically what the role of our individual offices are was our initial meeting, and then to see what resources we have in our departments that could assist other departments. So in the event we have a situation that occurs like occurred on 9/11 or something similar to that, when we get there, we know that the fire department has certain equipment. Right. And certain people with expertise in that area. So we know to call them immediately, and then they would know to call us or any member of the police department. So that's some other things that we've done to understand the different departments in public safety, and where we aren't just concentrating on law enforcement issues, we're concentrating on fire, EMS, and everything else. So those are some of the other things that we've done down in Horry County.
An interested viewer had heard that I was going to have a chance to interview you and was wondering if there are any screenings being done to screen jailed inmates for possible ties to terrorist organizations.
Yes, what we do is all personnel that we have that come in, we do a check. All personnel that come in. Of course, this is something we were doing prior to, but we're paying a lot more attention now than we did then, to be totally honest with you. We look at the history, is what we call criminal history of the people, to see if there's any outstanding warrants or anything of that nature. But if there's a red flag or something that comes up, we would immediately notify INS or whomever we would need to notify.
We've only got about 30 seconds, but I was wondering, Sheriff Thompson, who in particular inspires you? Is there anyone that particularly inspires you?
Well, it's a tough question, Greg. Just our personnel there, our law enforcement, neighborhood, community. We're very, very committed to law enforcement, and whatever it needs, I just have so much added gratitude and all for the job that all of our officers do out there. And if there's any inspiration there, it would have to be our fellow law enforcement officers. And
it shows. It shows. Sheriff Phillip Thompson, 24 years in law enforcement, his entire life in Horry County, a year and a half as sheriff. We truly appreciate your public service, your dedication to all law enforcement officers and all citizens of Horry County and the state of South Carolina. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll be back with more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This week we're in Florence visiting at Fire Station 1 with emergency services personnel from all over the Carolinas. And today we're visiting with Horry County's Fire Chief, Randall Webster. Chief Webster, thanks for being with us.
Pleasure to be here.
How long have you been in Horry County?
Been in Horry County since 1989. Came in from West Virginia, but been fire chief for about 2.5 years now.
2.5 years as fire chief?
That's correct.
Okay. And where are you located in the county?
Our offices are at the Public Safety Building, the M.L. Brown Public Safety Building in Conway, but we have 41 stations throughout the county.
41 stations throughout the county? How large is Horry County?
Horry County is about 1,152 square miles. I understand it's the third largest county on the East Coast. So I know we're bigger than the state of Rhode Island. So we've got a lot of land to cover.
You said 1,152 square miles?
1,152 square miles.
That's amazing. That's right. Now, what brought you down to Horry County?
Well, I actually honeymooned here back in '87, and obviously vacationed here, and then opportunities came up, and I took a shot at it, and I have to say it's worked out very well for me here.
understand you were a paramedic for EMS before getting involved in the fire service.
That's correct. A little bit of history. I started out as a volunteer back in West Virginia as a firefighter and went to the Huntington Fire Department. At that point, I took an EMS career change, have worked with EMS and dual role with fire department for all those years. Came to Horry County as a paramedic, moved up to the ranks of deputy director and acting director of EMS, and then fire and EMS merged, became Horry County Fire Rescue. I applied for the job as fire chief prior to that, and it just worked out.
So EMS and fire have merged in Horry County.
That's correct.
Is that similar in most counties throughout, let's say, our viewing area in the PD or Robinson and Scotland County? Would you know?
It's not normal in terms of most of South Carolina. We are the only county-based system like that, but it is regular like that throughout the fire service in the nation.
Are you an elected officer or are you an appointed officer?
I'm an appointed.
You're an appointed. And do you mind me asking who appoints? How is that set up in the county?
It's through an application process, just like most other jobs, and I was chosen by the county administrator after a review board was put in place.
Can you tell the viewers a little bit about your responsibility as fire chief?
It's very simple in terms. It's managing the response for fire and EMS service in Horry County, but that's a very small phrase for a lot of responsibility. Anything that happens 24 hours a day in the fire service or rescue service for the county, I'm in charge of that.
Anything?
Anything.
That's amazing. Obviously, this week is primarily focused on the events that happened a year ago and how our nation has changed, how Horry County's changed, how the state of South Carolina has changed. In your opinion, how do you think we as folks, whether in Horry or here in Florence or viewers throughout southeastern North Carolina, how do you think folks can better deal with terrorism?
Well, dealing with terrorism is not only on an individual basis, but I think there's some issues that everybody has to look at collectively. We all have to be more cognizant of what's going on around us, be more aware of things we may not have been aware of before in terms of the situations we find ourselves in and things like that. I kind of look back to the generation prior where civil defense was a big issue with everything with the Cold War and such as that, and it's basically back on those types of terms again, except the threat is just not as recognized now. It can come from anywhere and be anything.
Is there anything over the last year, any accomplishment that's happened in the Horry County Fire Department that you're most proud of?
Well, I think the fact that we're proud of our brotherhood in fire rescue. When the incident took place in New York, we all felt that pain. Everybody in this type of business felt that pain. It brought us together closer. It brought out some community awareness of what we do. But it also gave us an opportunity to really step back and look at our programs and decide what was important and where we needed to be going to protect the citizens.
I saw that recently a report came out, I think in mid-August, that the mobilization procedures, not only for fire but also for police and the Port Authority up there, were being revised such that a situation in that instance where 343 fire safety officers were killed and that I think 23 police officers and I think 37 Port Authority officers. I think there was a fear that possibly there was too much mobilization at one location and not enough folks back a little bit. Obviously, you can't think about it.
Well, you could look at that in hindsight 2020, but right. These people were doing a job that they were supposed to do, and things will change, but not that dramatic. I mean, there's some procedural things that may change, but the job's got to be done, and we do that every day with not only career but with volunteer personnel as well.
I was going to ask you say the job's got to be done. Is there an opportunity? Let's say I wanted to volunteer for fire safety. Is there an opportunity? Just one second. Is there an opportunity for folks to volunteer? Obviously, we're in a live fire station here.
Yeah. Horry County Fire Rescue is not only just a career department, it is a volunteer department, it's a work combination department. We have over 500 members in our department, and half of that is volunteer. It is something we would encourage for people to want to do something for their community, to jump on board with the fire department and volunteer. There's a lot of things people can do. not only fighting fire, but there's a support services aspect as well. So we have a constant need for more people to volunteer.
If folks wanted to volunteer, how would they go about? Just 1 second. It's obviously, viewers, you can tell we're in a live Fire Station 1 here in Florence. Fortunately, we're visiting with Fire Chief Randall Webster from the Horry County Fire Department, but so he's obviously aware of situations like this. But if folks wanted to volunteer, and this may inspire you, obviously we're in a live situation here.
Right, yeah. What you hear in the background is something we deal with every single day, not only in Horry County but everywhere. People who are interested and feel that need inside them, just contact our office at 248-1223, and we can set you up in the right program. There are some training requirements involved and OSHA requirements involved that we have to meet, but we provide that to people. And we're just looking for people that's got it in their heart and their soul to come out and do something with us.
That's wonderful. Chief Webster, if you weren't in your current profession as chief of Horry County's Fire Department, what do you think you'd be doing?
Oh, I don't know. I grew up wanting to do this, and I find that so many people. It's in the blood. And since I was a little kid, I was chasing fire trucks and involved with ambulance services. So I can't say I'd be happy doing anything else, and I really enjoy what I do.
That's wonderful. Horry County Chief Randall Webster in law enforcement or EMS or fire safety since 1984, particularly fire and EMS. Chief Webster, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This week we're visiting with some of the finest public service officials from all over the Carolinas. We're at Fire Station 1 here in the city of Florence, and today we're visiting with Horry County's Police Chief, Paul Goward. Paul, thanks for being with us.
You bet. Good morning to you.
This is a great commitment to see folks from Horry, from Robeson and Scotland County, from all over the PD coming here to Fire Station 1 to talk about some of the events that have happened over the last 12 months. And when we think about the events and how they've affected the Horry County Police Department, are there some changes that have taken place over the last 12 months and going forward?
Well, it's kind of an interesting question because I think in spite of the magnitude of the whole 911 thing that's occurred, people might suspect that tremendous change has occurred institutionally in the public safety arena, and I think it's my opinion that it probably hasn't imposed itself on us from the systemic point of view as much as it has on the fact that we're citizens of Horry County and the state of South Carolina and the United States like everyone else is who's been impacted by this. And I think the greatest impact on us as public safety people has been the same kind of impact that's occurred with your everyday average citizen, whatever their role in our society might be. And I think one of the things about that is it certainly has awakened another level of our patriotic sense of responsibility. And to the degree that we allow that sense of patriotism to impact our ability to communicate and serve the public, it's probably had the greatest impact. Obviously, there's been some other systemic things in terms of looking at contingency plans that are recommended from the federal government on down through the state and into the local environment so that we have some sense of uniformity in our ability to anticipate circumstances directly related to international terrorism, identify those locations that might be specific sites, and do something to develop a contingency in that regard. But overall, I think it's more of a personal thing really than a systemic thing.
Obviously, we're visiting in Fire Station 1, and there's some live activity going on in the background with the speaker system here. But when we think about, can you just talk real quickly, how long have you been in law enforcement?
Well, actually, I've been in law enforcement going on 32 years now.
32? Is that primarily in Horry County or in the Carolinas?
Actually, I retired from the Wichita, Kansas Police Department back in 1995, and I came directly from that retirement accepting the police chief's job in Horry County in May of 95.
May of 95, so right at a little more than 7 years now.
That's right.
And you, your service in law enforcement has been almost exclusively with the police department. Had it been with police in Wichita as well?
It was with the police department in Wichita. I had a short stint during a period of time when I went back to school to finish my degree where I was actually a juvenile probation officer for about 18 months. But went right back into the police work after that was over with.
What's involved with being responsible for an entire police department? How many police officers are in Horry County?
Well, we have 225 total employees, 202 of which are certified police officers, and the rest are clerical support, things of that nature.
And their primary responsibilities in the county are, obviously we were just with Sheriff Thompson earlier, the responsibilities are primarily focused, it sounds like, on the courthouse.
The sheriff is primarily responsible for the courthouse, for the jail facility, for some other functions set up statutorily. The police department is the primary law enforcement service vendor for the community.
Okay, and that would be indicative of all communities?
Pretty much so, yes.
How did you become interested in the law or law enforcement?
Well, I suppose to the degree that things like policemen and firemen seem to have some romantic connection with children all through your growing up life. There's probably some residual impact of that nature, but the truth of the matter is I had been in the United States Air Force, and I had had some education while I was in there, wanted to finish up my education. Primarily I needed a job, and I was looking in the want ads in my previous jurisdiction, saw the job of a police officer, and then as quick as the mind works, I conjured up all of those philosophical issues about whether or not I was worthy to be a police officer, were my political views and the way I felt about society, my fellow man, were they going to meld with being a good police officer, all those kind of things occurred. And I just made a commitment to law enforcement as a respectable career and certainly a professional challenge.
That's spectacular. Are there any projects currently underway that you really want to see implemented or implemented further? Anything going on in Horry County with the police department?
Well, we've actually been working on a very aggressive community policing philosophy in Horry County for about the last 7 years. And part of that policing philosophy, the programmatic adaptation of that, is what we call our COPE teams. They're community-oriented policing and enforcing teams. And Horry County, as you may or may not know, is a rather large county. We have about 1,150 square miles. So the difficulty of applying a community policing kind of philosophy to a geographical area that large is somewhat unique. Well, what we did was we took some demographic information, some crime information, the nature of crime, the amount of calls, the severity of it, and we identified 6 different pocket communities in Horry County that had specific problems that needed to be dealt with in a more concentrated fashion, and certainly needed a cooperative effort between the community and law enforcement itself. And so we initiated some efforts to get some grant money from the COPS program, and we started a initial effort to establish a COPE team in what we call a race path community in the Myrtle Beach area of Horry County, and went into a neighborhood that was pretty much overrun with drug dealers and prostitution, had a lot of violent crime, things of that nature, needed some help cleaning up the living environment, things of those natures. And so it fit right into the mold of what community policing was all about, and it was our target project to see if we were going to ultimately be able to expand. We were very successful in that effort. We actually received an honorable mention in the J. Mitchell Graham Award program by the Association of Counties in the second year of our work in that community. And then because of our successful efforts, obviously we had more grantsmanship that went into expanding that to other areas, and some tremendous assistance by the county council giving us funding to create COPE teams in the other 5 pocket problem areas of the county. So we've been managing that effort for the last 6.5 years or so, and had a real good success rate.
That's amazing. I know we've only got a couple seconds, but is there anyone in particular that inspires you?
That inspires me right now? I have to tell you, trying to stay as much away from the political arena as I can, that I have tremendous respect for our president right now. There are so many issues facing him as the chief executive of our country, and certainly our military leader and our head diplomat, that seem to be such of an insurmountable character that I can't imagine the pressure and the kind of character it takes to fill that job, and he's an inspiration to me.
Chief Paul Goward, Horry County's police chief, 32 years in law enforcement, 7.5 years as chief of police for Horry County. one of the largest counties and surely largest in the state of South Carolina. You honor us by being here, Chief Goward. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you, too.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Thank you for tuning in to Carolina People this morning. We truly want to thank our host, Fire Station #1 here in the city of Florence.